Welcome. I am so excited to see all of your faces here and to celebrate. Tonight is a night of celebration. So thank you all for joining us as we share our promise and commitment to the future with all of you. But before we get started, how about a huge round of applause for all of our student artwork and all of our student performances. Truly, truly, just the greatest asset that we have here in the Worcester Public Schools, our students. So I am beyond thrilled to have you all here tonight as we celebrate our first of many Gathering for Excellence. We've been working so hard and so important to share with all of you the work so that we're all in it together. So again, thank you very much for being here tonight. The first thing we're going to do is please stand and help me to introduce our gifted scholars from Burncoat Middle School, led by their teacher, Ms. Andrea Cook. If I can please come to the stage to lead us in a national anthem, Lauren Mariano, Grace King, Natalie Kleiner, and Nevaeh Aja-Mandua.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Again, thank you again, just such exemplars of WPS Shining Stars. Next, please join me in welcoming Mayor Petty to the stage. His relentless commitment to the Worcester Public Schools, its 5,000 employees that support our 25,000 scholars, is one of the very reasons why we are able to be here today and to continue this very important work about bringing forth our promise to you. We are extremely grateful for his support in helping us to continue to transform the Worcester Public Schools. Mayor Petty.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Just want to thank you for asking for being here tonight. I'd also like to thank for all those who organized this event, and those who are here tonight with me, my elected colleagues on the school committee. With us tonight, we have school committee member Kathy Roy, Molly McCullough, Sue Mailman, Jermaine Johnson, and Giselle Rivera Flores from Senator Kennedy's office. Oh, Senator Kennedy's here too. Perfect. And so welcome. and most notably our Superintendent, Dr. Rachel Monterez. This year, Dr. Monterez was named one of the 25 superintendents to watch in 2024 by the National School Public Relations Association. Congratulations. This nomination does not come by accident. The Worcester Public Schools are advancing in a direction that I am proud of and the school committee is proud of. And the City of Worcester school system is preparing our scholars to think creatively and critically so they are empowered to be competitive candidates for our future workforce. Investing in our children and our youth will set up our city for success. With a strong advocate and excellent leader like Superintendent Monterez at the helm and working with the Worcester School Committee, I am confident that we will continue to make significant progress. Dr. Monterez has a strong commitment to safety, implementing evidence-based frameworks around safety protocols and training. And together with the Worcester School Committee, we'll be launching the Superintendent Safety Advisory for Education Committee. With a strong focus on safety and empowerment, middle and high school students are reporting an increase in sense of belonging and interest in school. A recent survey by the Worcester Public Schools Office of Research and Accountability reported a 15% point increase of students who reported a sense of belonging. Schools are meant to be safe places, and the work of the superintendent and her team, she has developed an excellent team sitting right up here in front. Keep up the great work, much appreciated. And all the educators and parents and students is yielding results needed to ensure that the work of the Worcester Public School aligns with their goal. For student post-graduation to be engaged community members and empowered individuals. I hope you find the superintendent's address insightful. I'd like to once again thank you for all having me here tonight in the Worcester School Committee, so enjoy your evening. I'd like to right now introduce the Chandler Elementary dance team, led by teacher Rebecca Marone.
Hey, going out so hot, just like nothing. And I'll burn myself, I just had to touch it. It's so fine, and it's all mine. Hey, baby, and we don't mind all the watching. Cause if they study close, real close, they might learn something. She ain't nothing but a little doozy where she does it. She's so fine tonight. As long as I got my suit and tie, I'ma leave it all on the floor tonight. And you got bits up to the nines. Let me show you a few things. All dressed up in black and white, and you're dressed in that dress I like. Love is swinging in the air tonight. Let me show you a few things. As long as I got my suit and tie, I'ma leave it all on the floor tonight. And you got bits up to the nines. Let me show you a few things. All dressed up in black and white, and you're dressed in that dress I like. Love is swinging in the air tonight. Let me show you a few things. Let me show you a few things. Show you a few things. I love, love, love.
Let's groove tonight. Share the spice of life. And it's nice tonight. We're gonna groove tonight.
Let me show you a few things.
Again, best part about the work that we do, the kids. So I wanted to, before I introduce our guest speaker, I wanted to introduce myself to all of you. I am Yu Ku. I'm the current assistant superintendent of personnel, engagement, and equity. And I am so lucky to have been chosen of all of my colleagues to be representing all of them tonight. So thank you, my friends and colleagues. So it is with such honor and privilege to work alongside a leader who inspires us simply by being. And that's what Dr. Menares is. Everything she does is about inspiration. Her visionary thinking, her commitment to students and their success while making sure we're implementing systems is remarkable and unmatched. And it's just so incredible to work with someone who gets it and who sees it. Dr. Menares' focus on ensuring every single voice matters is represented in everything that we do, and that is the real reason why we're here tonight. Because she not only wants to share the great work that we're doing, but she wants to hear from all of you. Not just those of you who are here in this room tonight, but all of you at home watching. It is so incredibly important that we continue to share our work with all of you. But what really is important to me as I think about her leadership is her ability to continuously challenge us to think more and do more and be more. Because the more we know, the better we do. And so I always appreciate every time I look at her, I have to think, I've got to do more. I've got to be more. I've got to think more. So I know that after tonight and getting to know her a little bit more, you'll feel the very same way, that she truly, truly inspires just by being. So introducing to all of you, not only my boss, a great leader, but a colleague and a friend, Dr. Rachel H. Menares.
Well, let's first give it up for our scholars. And I want to thank all of you for being here tonight and taking time out of your very busy schedules to be here. For anyone who's watching at home, thank you for taking that time as well. Before I get started, because I always forget to do this, I'm going to thank everyone who made this evening possible. There are so many people, so I'm going to just call out certain groups, starting with the schools that are represented, beginning with Worcester Tech High School, the culinary program, our AV who made this happen, the students outside. So thank you to Worcester Tech. Thank you to South High School. We've got South High who's going to be performing. We've got WAMS who you saw already. We saw Chandler Elementary School. Burncoat High will be closing us out. So I want to thank all of them. I want to thank Tim Marie Leary and our Fine Arts program for putting out those beautiful artwork of our scholars. It's such an honor to watch our children and just, I wish I had that when I was a child, all the different art programs that are offered. I want to thank the cabinet for making sure that this all takes place, and my executive assistant, where I don't know where she is right now, but I'm sure she's busy. I know she's doing something. And if I missed anybody, I'm greatly apologetic. Oh, I know. I finally want to thank Kosar, who is an intern who attends Worcester Tech High School, who was the one who put this video together for us within minutes. So just another example. Just another example of the amazing scholars here in Worcester Public Schools. And I saw a few additional committee members come in, so thank you for being here. Member Biancaria and Member Beninda, thank you for coming. We greatly appreciate it. All right, so let's get to why we're here this evening. So does this look familiar? So I want you to look at all these pictures. First of all, how many parents do I have in the room? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. How many educators in the room? All right, so that's at least over 3/4 of the group. So does this look familiar to you? Right? Are these not the children that we're serving each and every day? This is not what we see all the time with our kids? You know, did you know that that this generation, right now, that they're referring to them, the new name is the Alpha generation? Did you know that? I just learned that myself. And so what does that mean? Well, the Alpha generation was born when the iPad was launched, right? This is all they know. They know this, they know iPads. The rest of us in this room who have, you know, a bit more life experience, we're learning all of this. But the children that we're serving in Worcester Public Schools, this is their truth, this is their reality, right? So what does that mean for education? And I'm not talking about just phones. I'm talking about technology. I'm talking about the future of schooling and the future of work and opportunities. It means that if this is their day in and day out and all they know, then imagine what the future of their work might look like. We can't even picture it because the rest of us in here, we have come to use cell phones, iPads, computers as part of our lives, but we had a life before that. I now do all my banking online. I, thank goodness, am so grateful that there was a GPS when I moved to Worcester, or I never would have made it around. I use my phone and all my online for shopping, for catching up with the news, right, and for communicating with people. Could you imagine a day without your cell phone anymore? We just can't, although we might want to. But our children cannot picture life without that, and it's because it's a mini device connected to the rest of the world. It is their computer in their hand. And so that has implications for teaching and learning. And so although this might make us think as the adults in the room like, oh my goodness, there's something wrong here, this is all the new generation knows. And so we need to start embracing that and figuring out how do we help them to be the best future adult that they can be so that they have the skills, knowledge, and disposition to lead this great city, this great state, this nation, and to compete globally. So what does future ready mean? Well, took some time and have been listening to our workforce and taking a look at what is the workforce looking for when they're looking for the future and people to come and work for them and to be in these competitive jobs. And if you take a look at what they're looking for, these are what you hear as soft skills. Many people would say these aren't soft skills, these are life skills, right? They need to be able to communicate, and remember, communication is not just speaking and writing, it's also about attentive listening. That's a form of communication, and just as important. Attention to detail. Why is attention to detail so important? Because as we think about artificial intelligence and being able to understand what the future holds, you've got to understand detail enough that you can find those errors. You need to be able to work in teams. You need to be able to have that emotional intelligence because, again, I'm going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. AI, as we've heard it termed, that is the computer, right, this software programming that takes all this information in the internet and pulls it together and produces. But what AI can't do is the emotional intelligence. That's what we do as the humans. Children need to be practicing that each and every day. Analytic thinking, leadership skills, more and more. We need to have people entering the workforce comfortable with leading and owning the leadership and learning how to grow with that. Motivation, motivating others. My daughter just called me and said, Mom, she just started teaching this year, and she said, Mom, how do you motivate children? And I said, I'll give you a call a little bit later. I got a pretty big important meeting that I'm going to be conducting, right? But that this idea that it's not just motivating yourself, it's motivating others, because when you're working with teams and you're working with emotional intelligence, you've got to be able to connect with others, right? That's part of that motivation. And employers are asking for employees who can be flexible and adapt. They can be nimble because the workforce is changing so much. So jobs that we have right now will be obsolete in 5 to 10 years. Jobs that we have right now will be obsolete in 5 to 10 years because artificial intelligence will take that place. But again, what artificial intelligence can't take the place of is the human interaction and all of these soft skills. Now, what are the technical skills that employers are looking for right now? They're looking for software development because artificial intelligence. We're no longer using the internet just to scour for information. We use it to synthesize information. That's what AI can do for us, and so much more. Working with data and data analysis, really looking for trends and patterns. Sales and marketing skills so that they can motivate others, so that they can sell new products, so they can engage with people and get them to think about trying something new that doesn't even exist. Project management, so things actually get done. Software proficiency, proficiency with AI, and finally customer relationship and management. So you may be thinking, what does this have to do with Future Ready? Well, I believe it's our job to ensure that not only can children read, write, do arithmetic, which we know they need to be able to do all of that, and to be able to have conversations with others and be able to converse with and talk about things that might be uncomfortable, right? So some of that conflict resolution. But most importantly, I want them to be thriving adults. Do you want them to be thriving adults? I want them to be able to engage in civic engagement. And I'll tell you, our youth are all over that right now. They are interested in the civic engagement. They want to be a part of improving not only their local school, their neighborhood, but the larger community in Worcester. And we need to be preparing them to be those leaders. And so these give us an idea of what the workforce wants for them. But when I look at that, I think about that's what I want for my daughter. That's what I want for my grandchildren one day. Not a hurry there, but want that for my grandchildren. And if that's where employment is going, then what do we as the educators need to keep doing, stop doing, do differently so that they can be prepared for that? So I want you to take a look at this graph real quick. I keep mentioning artificial intelligence here and there, right? So AI, and Dr. Kyriasis would speak so much more fluently about this than I would. She's our Director of Education Technology and the principal of Wauwikis. But let me just walk you through this. Artificial intelligence. So this graph here, note November 2023. In November 2023, there was some data collected. And it took to get 1 million users, all right, 1 million users. For Netflix, how many of you have Netflix? Most of us, right? Most of us. Maybe not all of us, but most of us. It took 41 months to get Netflix to a million users, okay? For Twitter, it took 24 months. So we're talking almost 4 years, 2 years, right, for Twitter. Facebook, it took 10 months to get to 1 million users. Instagram, 2.5. Look how many days it took to get to 1 million users for ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an example of artificial intelligence. Is this happening at an accelerated rate? I would say yes. Is it transforming the way that schooling is happening, that work is happening? Absolutely. At Worcester Public Schools, at the cabinet level, I can tell you we've already started using AI to take the lower level kind of thinking work and put it into this program, artificial intelligence, and it pops out some new information for us that then we can go deeper with. We shared the different AI tools with our superintendent student advisory last year. And at first, what do you think the children said? Isn't this cheating? And I said, I love that you have that integrity. That's really important. We want you to have that integrity. It's cheating if you copy it and turn it in and say it's your work. That's cheating. If you start and then you improve upon things and you use it to launch new ideas, and then so you take those soft skills and you make it better, now it's allowing to free your brain from the low-level thinking to a much more complex thinking. That's the difference between what the computer can do and what the human can do. Our children need practice doing that. It's not going to just happen. We have to teach them how to do that. That's part of being future ready. That's where Worcester Public Schools is going. So in order to do that, we have what we have launched and the school committee approved at the beginning of this year, the Vision of a Learner. So let me talk briefly about how this came to be. We brought all kinds of people together, our principals, and let me be clear, the Vision of a Learner is a pre-K through 12th grade vision for our children, that we want them to have all of these dispositions, the 5 of them, when they walk the stage upon graduation. So we want all of our scholars to be problem solvers, curious learners, empowered individuals, effective communicators, and engaged community members. Behind each one of these dispositions is just a slew of skills and descriptions of what does this look like at a pre-K level? What does this look like for a senior? How about an 8th grader, right? Because it's not the same, but they build on each other. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some examples of what we've already started doing this school year because the educators are so incredibly caring, innovative, and forward-thinking in Worcester Public Schools. If you visit our schools, you'll see posters of these around. You may already see them. They are on beautiful block kind of canvas pieces that our principals have put up. And I'm really happy they're up because it keeps it forefront. But those posters aren't going to change what happens for our children each and every day, right? It's what our educators do, it's what our principals do with our students each day. So let's take a look at what are some examples of what we've already started on the Vision of a Learner. These are our students. This is an example of problem solving. So these are high schoolers, and one of the descriptions or the strands for problem solving is that children can take multiple pieces of information. So you see multiple pieces of information, working in teams, collaborating with each other, communicating with each other, and those multiple pieces of information they're going to use to solve a complex problem with multiple solutions. That's what a high school student needs to be able to do. A middle school student, just scale it back 1. Instead of multiple solutions, it's take multiple pieces of information, synthesize it with your team, and come up with one new solution. And then we scale it back there to our older elementary, 3 through 5, and then our kinder. This is an example of problem solving that is already taking place in Worcester Public Schools. Gotta see that cute little face. There we go. The next one, curious learners. So the curious learner, this one is about children honing in on their strengths, their interests, and their talents, identifying what those are, and then using those in their learning and setting goals. So for our youngest scholars, it's about them being able to say, here's what my strength is, or my interest, or my talent. And I think I might want to do this with that in the future. Some aspirational goals. Whereas our older children, they can identify strengths, talents, aspirations, and then they can self-reflect. They'll set their own goals and they'll self-reflect on those strengths, talents, and aspirations. We're getting started on that. I want to keep saying we're just getting started on all of this. We're nowhere being done, but if we don't start, then we don't get anywhere, right? So that's for an example of curious learner, right? Empowered individuals. So teachers in the room and parents, empowered individual is all about the individual making those academic choices that are in their best interests, like coming prepared to class, the stuff that children just do that? Why can't they just come with everything they need? You know, if we could figure that out, then schooling would be nice and easy, but that would just be no fun. So the empowered individual not only comes to school prepared, but like when we think about our high schoolers, so the workforce who is here, you're gonna like this. We're zoning in on time management, meeting deadlines, handling workload. All of that are necessary skills that they need in order to be successful in their future. And if you go back to what those soft skills were, that was embedded in there, right? The ability to be that leader of yourself and make those solid decisions. This happens to be students, I believe, here at Tech, I think so. The next one, got to come over here. Oh, keep missing these cuties. All right, the next one, How adorable is this? I see this at our schools all the time when I visit our classrooms, all the time. This is around effective communication. And so, again, effective communication doesn't just start when you get into high school. You've got to start practicing it at the youngest age. And so effective communication for our youngest scholars is to be able to share an idea and ask a clarifying question of a peer. And then it moves up the chain as they continue to get older. But if we don't start here, then when they're in 5th grade and we're asking them to ask questions and answer and find main idea, we've unintentionally stifled them, right? So a quiet classroom is not the kind of classroom we want. We want children talking. We want children practicing language. We serve multiple languages here in Worcester Public Schools. We need to hear all those languages going on in the classroom, right? But we need to be teaching English. We need to be doing both for our children. The last one is the idea of, oh goodness, let me just look at my cheat card right here to remember the last one, sorry. I knew I would. Engaged community member. So the engaged community member is really around that civic engagement, right? And working in teams and using digital information and determining, is this information valid or not? Not just because you found it on the internet doesn't mean it's valid, right? You have to, and that goes back to problem solving. Multiple pieces of information that you might find on the internet, making sure that it's valid, that it's reliable, and working in groups so that and creating that civic engagement. So that's another example. These are students, I actually think that this was from last school year, because these are students that are part of my superintendent student advisory. These are examples of what we're doing for Worcester Public Schools children right now. We have not been waiting. We've been working on this because children need to practice this. This is what I refer to as the learning experiences for our children. So you might be asking, all right, so then what does this have to do with the strategic plan? Well, before we get to what the children are doing, we've got to be clear, aren't they adorable? We've got to be clear about what the adults are doing. Because children don't do things just by chance. It doesn't just happen like that. Children will do and rise to the occasion when we set up a structure as the adults for them to be successful, and we put those safety nets in place. So here's our theory of action for Worcester Public Schools. We believe if we build systems and the conditions that support schools in nurturing a culture that builds and honors capacity of our staff, honors capacity of our families, honors the experience that we have in Worcester Public Schools. We ensure a sense of belonging. We saw images of that earlier. And we offer authentic engagement. We engage with our families, our educators, our children, our community. Then, when all the adults are working together and we have a harmonious orchestra going, then our schools will actualize the vision of a learner. That's what we believe, and we will do it for all scholars. This is our aspirational goal. This is where we're going. The strategic plan is built on the vision of a learner and this belief around our theory of action. So let me get into this strategic plan. First of all, I want to point out the strategic plan, we're going to start referring to it as our promise, or the Worcester Public Schools promise. And the reason is strategic plan doesn't really engage people and get them excited necessarily, plus, I don't know, it almost sounds a little flat. But a promise to the community, a promise to our children, a promise to our families, that, I believe, it excites people a bit more. And when I talk about promise, at first I was a little nervous because I thought, well, promise means I have to be perfect. I have to achieve it. And then someone reminded me, I already warned my husband I was going to do this, and some of you have heard this already, that a promise means that you're going to work each and every day to make something happen. It doesn't mean that you're going to be perfect. They said, Rachel, when you married your husband, did you not promise him that you're going to be the best wife each and every day? I said, oh, well, of course I did. And they said, and are you? And I said, of course I'm not. But do I try? Yes. And when I downslide, do I pick it back up and do what I need to? I hope he would say that, yes, that's the case. So our promise is that we're going to promise to our families that we're going to work on this each and every day. Our promise is that we're going to promise to our educators that we're going to support you in doing this each and every day. Are we going to be perfect about that? We are not, because we are human. But are we going to listen and keep getting better at it? We absolutely will do that. So this is our promise to our future. The promise has 6 priority areas. Those priority areas came out of the listening and learning tour that I did last year, where you told me what were the strengths of Worcester Public Schools, what are the opportunities for improvement, and what would you do if you were me? How do you help me prioritize? And 6 themes rose to the top. I met with over 800 people, so there's a lot of voices at the table that were part of this. And whether I met with you in person or you completed something online, you gave your voice to this plan right here. Met with students, parents, community members, principals, educators, did the gamut. So let's go through this plan. Each plan has each priority has a description, so 6 descriptions, and then aims. The aims are like the direction that we want to go. Behind each aim then are what are called key performance indicators, or the metrics. I'm not going to get too detailed into this because you have a handout on it. And if you want to read the whole plan, it's online for you. I just want to give an overview of it, and then we'll bring the panel up. So let's start with the first one. So equitable resources and educational programming. I heard this loud and clear. Strengths, great programs in Worcester Public Schools. Opportunities for improvement, can we expand them? Can we get more access to them? How do we know about them? And how do we ensure that a variety of children are included in that? So this one really embeds the teaching and learning portion of our work. What school sounds like when you go to the schools. We've got 3 aims. We want to increase access to learning opportunities for our youth, where they feel part of the learning and they are progressing at the appropriate grade level. We're focusing with a specific goal around ensuring that our historically underserved youth at grades 3, 5, and 8 especially, we're using those as major benchmarks to make sure that they're progressing, and our multilingual children. All children are included. We're just going to put an extra, like make sure that we're not leaving any child behind. Increase opportunities for scholars to exercise their agency. So this is some goal setting behind that. Again, you should be, I want you to think back to, oh, that's in the vision of a learner, the goal setting. Oh, what does the workforce want? They want children to be able to manage their time, set goals, practice leadership. So it starts to go together. And then grow and create equitable future-ready learning environments. So we're really looking for ways to grow access to not only advanced programming at our high schools, preschool at our elementary, exploratory vocational ed or Chapter 74, those are the same thing depending on where you come from, at the middle school, and then growing those opportunities at the high school as well. We've got great things happening in Worcester. We just want to keep figuring out how do we get more and how do we make sure our families know about it so that they too can participate. So that's a lot of what's in the educational programming, resources and programming. The last part that I would say on here, no, I think it's on another one. We've got some time. These start to intertwine, and we want it that way. We don't want things to be too separate. I'm going to go to family and community engagement. This is the next priority. So what came out of the listening and learning is we love having these opportunities to engage, Dr. Monades. We want more of that. This is an attempt to have an example of another more of that kind of work. We started a family and community roundtable at the end of last school year to again be able to engage with our families. And a lot of this is about making sure that families feel comfortable, sense of belonging at our schools, and that there's two-way communication going on, that it's not just always giving to families and expecting them to just listen and do. We don't want that for the children. We don't want that for our families. We want two-way communication. So you should expect that we've got a new platform coming out soon that allows for multilingualism. More on that. Some schools have already started that. We want to make sure that our families feel a sense of belonging at our schools, so we're going to be creating surveys and asking you about that. And then the last aim on this one is a lot of our schools, our principals are phenomenal in getting resources or community partnerships. But not every school has that. And then it might be contingent on who that particular principal knows, which is great, but systemically, what if your child's not at that school, right? So we want to create a more systemized way of making sure that we have partnerships in our community with our schools so that it's not reliant on who you know, but instead the district is supporting that work. So that's part of family and community engagement. And because of the support of the school committee, we have been able to launch a family and community engagement office that we didn't have before. So we have 2 directors, one that we repurposed some existing funding to make that happen, and they have been instrumental in bringing our families together and really helping us to know where the challenges are. They're also working with our wraparound coordinators that also we put one at every school this school year to make sure that there's someone at the school that families know they can go to. When the principal's running and doing this, assistant principal's doing that, there's always the wraparound coordinator. And so that's a really big deal that I'm very grateful the school committee supported that. And that supports this priority. The next priority is climate and culture. This is really about how a school feels, how a district feels. Climate and culture is just like that feeling tone, right? You walk into a store and you know when it's a holiday season because music is playing, decorations are out. That's the feeling tone, that's the culture at the time. When we talk about climate and culture at schools, it's are they welcoming? Are they joyful spaces? Do students want to be there? Does staff want to be there? Do families want to be a part of it? This is what was a really important priority. And so how are we going to measure that? Well, we want to make sure, first of all, that everyone feels like they belong, and so there'll be surveys. It's going to be self-reported. We're going to measure it by this. See, AIM 2 is really important because what our youth keep telling us, but our staff says it too, is that the materials that we put in front of our children need to start reflecting the children so they can see themselves in it, right? Because when they never see themselves in it, then they think that this is not a place for me. And it's unintentional. None of us do it intentionally, but that's what ends up happening. But when they start to see a combination of different people on the pages in front of them, they start to see themselves valued, their home, their families valued, and they value each other across, which again is what our employers are looking for, right? Teamwork, collaboration, that's part of preparing our children to be future ready. And then finally, we want to expand the use of restorative practices to create more equitable learning environments. So what's a restorative practice? That's just educational lingo. Let me just break it down for you. Children make mistakes. They do things where we're like, why did they do that? Did they, right? It's the frontal lobe. They're not developed yet. They can't help it. They're not doing it to upset us. They're just being kids, right? But when they make a mistake, what we have to do is first we have to do the appropriate discipline because they have to learn a new behavior. But then the restorative part is we restore them back into the learning community. We let them know what they did was wrong, we discipline appropriately, and then we restore them back into learning communities so they continue to thrive and they can continue to learn. That's restorative practices. There are changes in Massachusetts as of November of last school year where the state of Massachusetts is saying more restorative practices, what they call alternatives to suspension. We need to do that for our children. We need to make sure that they're safe, disciplined. We need to restore them back into the learning environment so that they're ready to be the future leaders of this great city, of this great state, of this great nation. Acquire and retain talent. This was another big one. Heard it over and over and over again during my listening and learning tour. And this one is about making sure that we value and compensate our employees, but then also that we start to work on how do we make sure that our workspace is inclusive for everybody. And so you can kind of hear this goes back to the climate and culture, right? Because climate and culture is not just about the children. It is about the people who work in our schools. It's about the adults that visit our schools. And so we are going to keep working on increasing, diversifying our staff so that it starts to represent our students, because just as much as we want our students to be reflective in the materials, we want them to see people in the educational field that start to look like them so that they decide, I want to go into education in the future. I am always saddened when the students tell me they're not interested in going into education. And I think that part of that might be they never see anyone who looks like them in front of them, so they think it's not the place for them. But they want to go into youth development. They love kids. They just don't want to do it at school. So we need to change that, right? We need to create pipelines so that they see themselves as future employees or for Worcester Public Schools. And we want to take the staff that we have and we want to keep growing them so they can keep growing in Worcester Public Schools. Because they're committed to our community, they're committed to our schools, we want to show them that that's the case and that we're committed to them. Oh, this one. Modernize and safe facilities. This came up loud and clear. If every school looked like Worcester Tech, we'd be fine. We'd be fine. But that's not the case. And so we have beautiful buildings here in Worcester. And I want to say, because I just want to change this thought, Grafton Street School is our oldest school. But I'm going to tell you, it's in pretty good condition. And it's, where's the principal? Where is she? Wouldn't you say your school looks pretty darn good for its age? I would say so. It's had some work done, right? It's had some touch-ups here and there. Yeah, we've got other schools that we need a lot of work done for them, right? Yes. We all know, okay, so to make sure everyone knows, Burncoat High is now on the list for, yes. Never mind, it's 5 to 7 years, but it's still on a list. Still there, it's still there, and we're very happy. Now, the city's like, oh my gosh, Rachel, how are we going to afford all this? Because that's what it comes down to. This is all around funding. We have nearly 50 buildings. And so when you have so many buildings that are very old, we just bought a home that dates back to, early 1900s. There's a lot of work to be done in older buildings. So it's got this beautiful, we've got schools that have beautiful architecture, and that's the beauty of Worcester. And then the other side of that, though, is then we have to maintain them, and it costs money. So what we're working on is making sure that we are working with our city. Some of our goals around these aims right here are to have a master plan for facilities that is not just going to encompass Worcester Public Schools, it's going to encompass the entire city, because it is kind of really one budget when it comes to this capital work. And so we need to be very thoughtful and collaborative in that work. We're looking for ways to find ongoing revenue sources, because there's only so much money to go around in the city, and so we've got to be very thoughtful about finding some new ways to bring money in. And then, of course, we want to make sure that our schools are safe. We had a safety audit. They clearly told us what we need to do to make sure our schools are safe physically, so we need to work on that. And then finally, the aim 4, because I just want to put it out there, I'm an educator, right? I learned how to teach children. Facilities is a whole new world for me, but I'm enjoying it to learn about it, because it's aim 4 that makes me most excited about thinking about how do we create a structure and like a blueprint, if you will, for what a future-ready classroom and school should include. So that at some point, right, because it's going to take time, 50-some buildings, no matter what school your child goes to, they are sitting in classrooms that are future-ready. And maybe it's not going to be for this next 5 years. Maybe it's going to take more time, because again, lots of classrooms. But at least there's a plan and a path moving forward. So this is a really big one that we're going to keep working on. In the meantime, we're increasing our responsiveness to work on orders when principals put them in, so that they're not constantly waiting, and we're going to keep getting better in this. Finally, health and wellness. So climate and culture is how the whole school feels. Health and wellness is really about for the children and or the staff who need above and beyond services. So this includes a counseling model that is evidence-based, and that we're supporting our counselors with that. This includes partnering with our community partners around some mental health services, and making sure that both it's mental and physical health that children are thriving in that. We have a roadmap for health and wellness, and so this is about implementing that. So climate is like for everybody. This is for the people who have the higher need, and we want to meet them where they're at and get them on the right path, so that, again, they're thriving adults who are ready to take on the future of education and ready to take on the economic development that is happening here in Worcester. They're the problem solvers. They're handling these complex situations. They're figuring out how to engage more, to improve community engagement. That's what we want for Worcester Public Schools children. If you watch the school committee meetings, you've seen this before. If you haven't, I'm going to remind you, or I'm going to share it with you. So we've got this great plan. We've got a vision of a learner. Looks great on paper, right? Dr. Monatis can speak about it. Sounds like, all right, we're interested in this. If success was that simple, we would already be there. Success is not linear. Success takes time. There's trials and errors that happen. That's called life, right? And we all know that as the adults in the room. So what I'm asking of everybody is to continue to embrace what we're calling the squiggle, because actual success is this squiggly line. Do we actually get to the place? Yes, we do. But along the way, will we have ups and downs? Absolutely. And don't we want our children to see what that looks like? Don't we want them to practice that? So the learning experiences in the classroom need to reflect the vision of a learner. And teachers are going to make mistakes along the way because they're learning too. They're going to embrace the squiggle, and we have to be okay with that. Because if we shut them down, they won't try again, and our children won't be prepared. So what I'm asking of all of us is to stay focused on embracing the squiggle, because at the end of the day, this is what it's about. These are our scholars. We want them to be ready to embrace that squiggle of life, that squiggle of adulthood. We want them to be the leaders, and we are the ones that make that happen. It is the adults that make this work happen for the children. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Koo, because I think we have a little bit of a transition.
So we do, but a big round of applause. I hope you are as inspired as I am. As we continue to share our promise with you and talking about a squiggle, you guys want to stay for this? So I'm so excited to introduce more squiggle. This is the South High Drumline team to perform for you as we talk about success. So. A reminder to always embrace the squiggle. Right? That's what we get. So I'm so excited for this portion of the event tonight. So Dr. Menares did a fantastic job of sharing our promise to you. But what does that mean? And what does it look like? So we've invited a few members from our community, students, parents, and those who work in schools, to really talk about our promise. What have we been working on, and what are the next steps? So very excited. I'm going to first ask the panel to introduce themselves. So I'm going to start right here with my friend.
Thank you very much. Hi, my name is Melissa Verdier. I'm a 20-plus year teacher at North High School, and I am currently the president of the Educational Association of Worcester, so we're the union that works for our educators. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm also a parent of 2 students at Norbuck.
Good evening, everybody. Ishmael Tabalis, Union Hill. Come on, give me some love. Thank you. Also a parent here of 2 kids that have gone through the system as well. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gina Creamer. I'm also a parent of 2 students who have gone through the Worcester, well, 3 actually have gone through the Worcester Public Schools. I currently am on the Q team. I am the Integrated Focus Instruction Coach for the Doherty Quadrant.
Sorry about that. My name is Anahit, and I'm currently a junior at Claremont Academy. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandra Losco, and I'm a mom of 2 children at the Chandler Magna La Familia. Woo! And I'm a former educator as well for the Worcester Public Schools, too, many years ago, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Creamer. I'm a parent of 2 students that graduated through the Worcester Public Schools. I'm also a proud graduate of South High Community School, and now also the proud principal of South High Community School.
Hello, my name is Alex Lanzo. I am a South High student. I'm a 12th grader.
Good evening. I'm Brian Allen, Deputy Superintendent, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Financial Officer, and to continue the streak, a graduate of South High.
I think it's on. My name is Titsi Mashawari. I have 2 kids in the Worcester Public Schools, one at Hurt Street, 4th grader, and an 8th grader at Birdcote Middle. When I'm not parenting, I teach at WPI.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Cody. I'm a teacher at North High for 29 years, English Language Arts, AP Lang, 10th grade, go MCAS, 9th grade pre-AP. So 29 years all at North.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Nolise Irizarry. I am a Worcester Public Schools graduate, Burncoat High School. I am now principal at Burncoat Middle, but I'm also a parent. My daughter actually was the second in the drum line, so I'm very proud of her.
My name is Anna Lito. I am a parent of a senior at South High School. I am a North High graduate. I am a climate and culture at North High School. This is my 2nd year. I did start as a paraeducator in the classroom.
So thank you for joining us tonight, and we are so excited to hear your voices. And so the panelists here, we invited them here so that we can actually see the actualization of our promise to you. So we were talking about the fact that we just want to hear from you. I do have a couple of questions that I will ask, and we all told them, well, I told them that there's no wrong answer, and it's really about what you believe is happening and how we can continue to grow. So I'm going to start right here with Ms. Verdier. So you're welcome. So what are some things, Dr. Menard share the vision for the future, vision of a learner, our strategic plan. What are some things that you see as a union president that's already happening in the district that make you excited about the future? Can you talk specifically about the relationship and how that has impacted our staff?
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I think it's really important that we both, Dr. Benares and I both started around pretty much the same time that I was elected president and she became superintendent. And we definitely started this going forward as we're collaborating. This is how things should work. We should work together and get things done together and solve problems before they become problems. So that's one of our biggest things. There was several things in the PowerPoint that I'm like, that's exactly what we're looking for. And one of those, I think I said it throughout negotiations, that we were about attaining and retaining teachers and all educators really, and we've done that. and we are the beacon that most of Massachusetts is looking at when they're looking to see how we treat educators, and I think we're doing a really great job at that. One of the other things that we're working collaboratively on is this building issue. It is a very big issue, and I don't know how much people know about it, but there are 52 schools or 50-ish buildings in Worcester, and you can only do one at a time. And I grew up in Rutland, Massachusetts, and they have a lot fewer buildings, so it's much easier to rebuild and grow than it is in a district like Worcester. So those are some of the issues that I feel like we're really focusing on. We definitely both we're really moving forward with restorative practices. It's something I did a lot when I was teaching at North. Actually, Mr. Creamer's brother was the AP that I worked with the most on this restorative practices. And I thank him for doing that. It was so successful with my students. And so those are the things that we want to see continue. And we do want to continue to work collaboratively. And that is something that we put forth all the time. And I always let people know that, we're working together. So this isn't a us versus them that so often seems to be the case between unions and districts. We're not doing that in Worcester. We are really working collaboratively, and we are working to just bring the best to our students, because although I'm the president, and so my first thoughts are members, I came into this field because I love students and I love children, and this is why I do what I do, because I want the best for our future. My students both my children, I call them students, both of my children go to the Worcester Public Schools. So I want the Worcester Public Schools to be the absolute best. I want my kids to have the best. I want everyone's kids to have the best. So we're going to keep working together, and I appreciate that question. Thank you.
Mr. Creamer. So my question to you is, can you share from the perspective of a high school principal how schools are actually today?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Q, and it's an honor to be speaking here on behalf of the Worcester Public Schools, so thank you for having me. I would say, as a parent and a principal, the number one priority is safety, and I can sit here in front of you and honestly say our schools are safe. Students have thrived. Not only, they're thriving right now. We were fortunate enough to get, bear with me, I get a little excited when I talk about the Worcester Public Schools. So we were really fortunate enough this year to be able to incorporate a dean of students, and 3 climate and culture positions in our school. It's had a tremendous impact on, I think, all the schools, and I just don't want to speak on behalf of South High. I think it's had a tremendous impact on all the schools, and I was so happy to hear our Mayor Petty. The first time I heard about the survey stats was that 15% of our students feeling more welcome, and that really makes me feel good that our students, and honestly, you can see it. I think if you visited any of our high schools, you would see students that are really excited to be there. Some opportunity students have is the opportunities are tremendous. Besides the core academic, traditional, English, math, science, social studies classes, the opportunities we have for our students is really unmatched. We have unbelievable amount of AP offerings. As a matter of fact, I get emails from more affluent towns surrounding us asking if their students can come take the test with us because they don't offer it in their community. So that we have students that are taking early college classes. For those that you aren't familiar, students are able to go through the Worcester Public Schools, take their classes, leave to go to a campus through Worcester State and Quincy, and take classes for free on their campus. And they can earn up to 15 credits by the time they graduate. And those of us who have students in college understand that financial impact that could have on students, that they could leave the Worcester Public Schools with a half a year of college under their belt. So that's really a tremendous opportunity. We have dual enrollment courses where students are able to leave South also and go to Clark University, for instance, and take courses there. So the opportunities that our students have academically are certainly unmatched. I'd like to touch on our our Chapter 74 programs. And again, for those of you who aren't familiar, those are programs that students leave high school with a certificate in this certain trade of their choice. South High, we offer diesel, culinary, and early childhood, and it's absolutely, to see the opportunities that students have that choose the career path to walk out of South High with opportunities not only to have a job, but to have a career when they leave South High. Really, so the academics, and then the social emotional piece and the extracurricular piece, I feel is as important. I feel it's like a three-pronged sword, that social piece is very important to high school. So the opportunities socially students have, whether it's through clubs, athletics, I know teachers dedicate their own time to offer clubs to students after school, and I would be remiss not to note that the teachers in our schools are incredibly dedicated, and to see the amount of time that they spend with their students, where the students are staying till 5, 6 o'clock at night working on projects and clubs with students that are volunteering their time is tremendous. So I think if you walk through the school, I think you'd see happy teachers, happy students, and really people working hard to get these future-ready skills. The teaching would be a lot different than it looked when I was a student. I think you won't see teachers up just lecturing anymore. I think I was looking at the slides, and if you walk through the classes that I've seen in all the schools, that's what you'll see, students working in groups and problem solving together and collaborating and all that stuff that was in the slides that's going to make our students college and career ready. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Q.
Thank you. So I'd like to hear from one of our students. Anahit, do you want to talk to us a little bit about what you saw when we've talked about Future Ready and preparing you for the future? Can you talk to all of us a little bit about your experiences and what that has been?
Thank you for the opportunity. In Claremont Academy, we focus on empowering youth, just like it was on the Vision of the Learner, and our main focus is to prioritize the students' needs and perspectives. We have our Culture and Climate Committee where we connect with the administration, the staff, in order to come up with mutual decisions and opportunities to improve our school environment. And we also have our student council that works on a daily to improve our school community as well. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. So I'd like to go to one of our parents. Sandra, can you talk a little bit about any shifts and notices that you can comment about, and talk to us a little bit about the shift that we're making to future-ready schools?
Great. Yes, the biggest shift that I can think of is our family engagement. I think that having that new office has really helped to engage parents that really want to be active in the school and in the education of our students. So that, to me, that the fact that not just the principal or not just another teacher, but everyone at the very top is actually interested in what we have to say is really helpful. I think, before I would see teacher or school and home, and it was very divided. But now I feel like we're going in the right direction where we can really merge the two. I mean, our kids are there a lot of hours of the day. So I think it has to be a collaboration. So the office was really great. I think school climate and culture was really great too. I think I really like to hear, are the staff happy? Because if the staff, if the teachers, if anyone else is happy, they're going to show that to our kids, and the kids are going to be happy, and the kids are going to say, I want to go to school every day, and I want to see my kids say that.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for that. And the great news is we have some staff that's here. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Anna. You mentioned you were a para-educator, and now you're a part of the climate and culture team, as well as a mom. Can you talk to us a little bit about anything that you've noticed in terms of the shift? We saw Dr. Menard's presentation. There's a lot of work that's going into getting our students ready for the future. So can you talk to us a little bit about what you've noticed?
So the one thing I notice is relationships. And I say that because being a paraeducator in the classroom, I only had bonds and relationships with my students that I was in the classroom. being in the halls and dealing with administration, I have built relationship with majority of every student at North High School. So I see the change because some students don't feel comfortable to tell their teacher or tell their assistant principal or even tell the SAC that they might have to check in with. When they see me or any of my two colleagues, sometimes it's just, Miss, this is what happened. And they don't want to tell, but I have to let them know, hey, this is a safety thing. I have to notify your SAC or your assistant principal. Another thing is students feel comfortable and say, Miss, you didn't hear it from me, but this is about to happen during lunch, or this is about to happen outside after school. And now I can go to an assistant principal or my principal and say, hey, I just want to let you know this is reported. So our eyes are open, our ears are listening. So I feel like having us, it also supports the teacher, and we can stop the interruptions in class. If it's them calling or seeing one of us walk by and say, hey, so-and-so is disrupting class, can you remove them? It might be just a simple walk, what's going on, because something just happened before class, and then we can get them right back to class, or we have to report them to an assistant principal.
Thank you. So, Mr. Tabalas, we've heard a lot from the intermediate grades, and so now you're representing all of our younger scholars. Can you talk? Thank you. Can you talk to all of us about what does it mean to be vision of a learner in the elementary grades? What are we really focusing on, and what are some things that you've noticed as we've made this shift? And just to remind you, you are representing all of the elementary grades.
They looking right at me too right now. Look at them. No, seriously, there's a trend up here. Right now, I think one of the biggest things that we're really focusing in on is the literacy piece. We have a new reading and writing curriculum this year, CKLA, that we're really focusing in on. One of the things that we have to do as a whole is really make it so that it's culturally responsive, and I think a lot of it is embedded in the program. Another thing is the science of reading. As you all know, that's one of the biggest things of excitement, at least, from us down at the lower levels. We can't wait. Don't everybody jump at once, okay? Good. But seriously, on all levels up here, there's a trend that's happening, and the vision of a learner ties it all in, and I think that that's so important because we're all tied in. We're talking about parents, we're talking about teachers, we're talking about just everybody in this room is very important. And one of the things that is very stressed throughout is that it's about all. Es de todo, no solamente de una partícula. You got this? Persona. Pero de todos, okay? Because I have some of my parents here that speak Spanish, y esto es para ustedes también. It's about everybody, and it's so important that we include everybody. So that's some of it. And lastly, I got to plug in Dr. Fan Fan. Where you at, Dr. Fan Fan? That's right. We talk about literacy, and you all, if you don't know, you better get on my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter about snow days, but we're trying to have some fun with it. We really want to bring out the literacy piece. In every one of our videos, you're going to hear, we want students reading. It's the most important part of our day, so we're really focusing in on that. Just so we know, 75% of the job is done by me and 25% is done by him, so we're clear. But listen, it's about fun. We have some awesome elementary principals that we work together. We're all trying to align with one another, and that's really what it's all about. It's about all. Thank you.
Thank you, and a plug. Definitely check out those videos. Right. And I would have to say I think it's 50-50. So I'm actually going to, at that point, talk about reading and the importance of reading. I'd like to hear from another parent of ours. You should see you're on here. You have elementary student. Can you talk a little bit about this initiative? Like, reading is so important, and what have you noticed? What resonates with you as we talk about Future Ready?
Thank you. I think I'd like to give a shout out to Mrs. Vale from Hurd Street. So I think I've seen sort of this culture and climate initiative taking place at Hurd Street, and I've shared this story with different people, different times. So one day my fourth grader came home and she was like, oh, apparently I'm the fourth grade rep. And I was like, what's that about? And so it appears Mrs. Vale has convened a group of students from each grade who form sort of an advisory committee. That's the best term I can use. And so I think every Tuesday she meets with the students, and they're trying to foster this culture of belonging among the students. And so I was like, imagine a 9-year-old sitting in the principal's office with other 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, it goes up to 6th grade, with the principal, and I think there's other teachers who attend that session, and they're making decisions together. So when I think about thriving learners, leadership, I can't think of anything else that embodies that at such an early age. So shout out to Hurd Street for nurturing leadership skills. And then the other thing that I want to touch on is technology. And my kids, I have a middle school at Burncoat Middle and the 4th grader, and they do all their work on the Chromebooks. So the Chromebooks work for some kids, and obviously not for other kids, but it's gratifying as a parent to just, you're walking past your kid's room and there's a kid on the computer doing homework. Like, they know exactly what the homework is. I don't have to ask them about the homework. It's all on the Chromebook. You can go in as a parent and see what they're doing, what kinds of comments they're getting from their teachers. And so I think if you have a learner who is self-driven, the Chromebooks and having all your content on the Chromebooks online, you can work at your own pace. And I think that works for particular kinds of leaders. So I think the technology is showing up in the classrooms. The kids are doing PowerPoint presentations as part of homework. So they're already learning those professional skills where they can design professional looking presentation and then present it at school. So those are things that I am excited about. But again, I think I will add to what Sandra said. What is the burden on the teachers? Because we're asking them a lot. I know Hurd Street does a lot. They do the after school programming. The teachers are there Tuesday to Thursday after school with our kids. And I know that's extra work for the teachers. So I'm really curious to know what kinds of supports are there for the teachers when they take on this extra burden, which benefits us as parents, but what is the cost to the teachers? So thank you.
Thank you, and I thank you for sharing that, but I also want to put a plug in for all of our principals here today. I know how hard all of you work, and I know those meetings, Mrs. Vale, in your office about student council and the importance of student voice, but I know every single one of my colleagues in this room today makes time to make sure that we're supporting our kids in this way. So thank you for all of them. Thank you. So you had asked a question about what are we doing to support teachers. Great news. We have a teacher that's on this panel. So I'm going to turn it to Cheryl. Talk a little bit about what changes, if anything, that you've noticed, how we can better support you, and just a climate overall as we continue to focus on future-ready students and staff, right?
So in the last 6 years, I've seen a big change in the students. We've been empowered to not only, have equity for all students, whether it's students with an IEP, a 504, an AP student, our college level student. And I feel, from the administrators I've had in the last 5 or 6 years, the opportunity to expect rigor and excellence, but also with that support for myself, and that's what it does for us. And so rigor also has, been redefined And it's that productive struggle for all students so that we're given the tools to empower them, not enable them. And no one ever says, oh, come on, that's going to be too hard for them. Or, hey, think of where they come from. Regardless, all students, have that equitable education, whether it's my college level students, whether it's my AP students. And the last 3 or 4 years, I have seen the growth that has been like superb. And everybody's like, how can you do it with 25 AP kids? How can you do it with 28 honor students? The way I do it is I feed off them. They're there at 7:15. They took home their work packets. They had them ready to go one day, and I said, oh my God, where am I? And I'm at Worcester Public Schools, and I'm at North. And it's not just my high-level learners, it's all of them. They love that productive struggle, and when they feel success with support, the sky's the limit. And I get to see in the last few years so many of my former students as firefighters, policemen, one of our top IT people for Worcester Public Schools. Those are all my former students. So that's what fuels me, is the kids. I'll be at the after-school program, and sometimes I'm the one that says, hey, we got to get back on target. This is our hour that we're doing our homework. And when they ask me and they say, hey, miss, are you coming after school today? And I say, oh, today's not my day. That's what makes me as an educator thrive, is that I'm supported to give them the rigor and equitability of a good education, and they give it right back.
Thank you so much. I'm going to actually turn it over to Ms. Kramer. So you guys have heard a lot about the Q teams and the way that we are organizing support for our staff so that they're able to better reach our students. So can you talk to us a little bit, as Dr. Menard said, we're really focusing on the adults to make sure that they are doing their best every day, but we know they can't do that until we fill their buckets. So can you share your perspective on this new approach that we're trying around educator support improvements? What do you think educators need today, and how is this model supporting them?
So given the longevity of some of the people teaching here, I think Worcester Public Schools has done a lot of things really well for a long time. As Dr. Menares had said in her presentation, and you've heard everyone sort of on the panel say, we're a growing community in the Worcester Public Schools, and we have so many unique learning styles and languages, and all of the kids that walk through our door have a plethora of needs. Our principals and our teachers are working really, really hard. And I think that this leadership team took an opportunity to take a step back and say, how can we better provide the support to meet the needs for our teachers, for our principals, our assistant principals, and all of that support staff. So you have our Q teams. So I work on the Doherty Quadrant team, and some of my girls are in the back. The team is comprised of an amazing group of people who bring so much to the table. We have climate and culture, we have educational technology, we have social emotional, we have special education coaches that really have that defined toolbox. So when we are welcomed into a building and we can go in and we hear what the needs are, whether it be from teachers or for administrators, we're able to put together a task force and come in and provide support. I think what I have gotten out of this as the integrated coach, I'm sort of the person that comes in, and my main job and goal is to support that rigorous, high quality instruction, that's outlined in our instructional framework, interweaving that vision of a learner, but really being able to take a step back and say, well, this is what I'm hearing, but I also think that I could, sort of task some of my Q team members to come in and they could provide some social emotional support to some of the teachers who might be having students in the classroom who have some challenging behaviors. I think this kind of collaboration makes me and my colleagues feel like we're not alone, but I also see this really neat alignment starting to happen. So we meet on Fridays with our executive directors, and we share our concerns, we share the great things that we're seeing our students doing, our teachers doing, really cool initiatives that are happening in the schools, but also be able to sort of empty our cup and put it out there for our friends and our colleagues to help us with. But then we meet monthly as a district. And, you know, to quote Katie Olney, I love where, you know, she often says, you know, we're not 55 schools in a district. We want to be a district of 55 schools. So this is where we come together and we're bouncing around and we're getting to meet and collaborate and talk to the Burncoat Q team or the North Q team or the South Q team. Really sharing those ideas and expertise that we bring. So I think as our students are growing and evolving and education is growing and evolving, we need to be prepared to support the instruction and the teachers that are delivering that high quality instruction, preparing our students to go out into the world and do whatever it is that they choose to do, that they feel empowered doing it, and that they reach success at all levels. So I hope I answered that.
Thank you, and remember there's no wrong answers. So Alex, I'm going to come to you. You heard a lot from the adults here, but I'm really curious as to, you know, the impact that you see on you as a student, because we do all the work we do to make sure that you and your colleagues have an opportunity to flourish and grow. So can you talk to all of us a little bit about some of the opportunities you've had and what that has meant to you?
I just want to thank you guys. You guys all do a great job at what you guys do. So, but something we do here at South is we make sure all our students' voices are heard, and we do that by a lot of meetings, a lot of clubs, superintendent, advisory council, climate council, everything. All the students are, we lend a handout, so anybody, any student, any grade level, they're able and eligible to get on that and have their voices be heard. And yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Thank you. So I went from high school to elementary and back. Ms. Irizarry, can you talk a little bit about, as a middle school principal, that in-between grade, talk a little about the opportunities for our students, what you see, and how you see this moving forward?
Sure. And I'll say that this is my first year as a middle school principal, and everyone told me that my gray hairs would be accelerated. And they weren't wrong. But I love it. I'm also coming here as a parent, as a school leader, but also as someone that employs our future college graduates. And I'm super encouraged by the work that we're doing right now to prepare them for the future. Specifically at Burncoat Middle and Burncoat High School, our students have the opportunity to engage in learning in a way that extends the traditional mediums of academic course. Our students are dual language students, get to engage in the language arts. Our Hanover Insurance arts program and our magnet art programs also get to engage in the arts, both traditional and our innovative new technology arts. And what that does really is prepare them to think in a flexible way in the future, and really combines us as humanities. If you think about it, dance is universal and brings people together. So is theater, and so is music. And what it does is allows our students to think about our world in a way that allows them to understand the myriad facets of different cultures and civilizations and ways of thinking. And those are skills that are very necessary when we're asking our children and our students to create solutions that are flexible for problems that we face now in the future.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, you've been such an integral part of helping to coordinate and create the strategic plan. And my understanding is you've gone through many iterations of this through the many years that you've been with the Worcester Public Schools. Can you talk a little bit about what it means to have this promise to the future?
Thank you. So you saw the tip of the iceberg today in the superintendent's presentation, but really it took 18 months to get to the final strategic plan document. We saw the 6 key priority areas and the 18 aims, the directions which we want to move this district, but really embedded in that is still another 25 goals and 58 ways we're going to measure it through KPIs. So sometimes when you finish a long strategic plan process, you think the work is done. In fact, the work has just begun. So this is where we really have to take what was just approved as the final strategic plan and put it into action. And so what does that mean? So that really it's up to the administration to develop kind of an operational plan around that strategic plan, annual goals and benchmarks in order for us to achieve those promises in the next 5 years. It's up for our schools and our programs to think about the programs that we offer and the resources that we have and how do we align those to achieve the promises of the strategic plan. And then finally, it's really incumbent upon the community to hold us accountable to what we stated is our promise in the strategic plan and make sure we stay on that path. So thank you.
So thank you. So a few things, and number one, I want to thank all of our panel members. Many of them, we said we would love to hear your voice, and I share that because as we continue to do more of this, we want to hear all of your voices. And so I'm going to ask the panel for one more favor. I'm going to ask Dr. Menares to give her some thinking time to think about, you've heard a lot. You shared a lot today. You've heard a lot of feedback, and I'm going to, in a few minutes, ask you to help us close this out, but I really want to hear your reflections because I think we've been in the work for so long that it's great to get some feedback, take a step back, and really think about what does it mean to promise? What does it mean to give your best each and every day? So I'm going to leave you some thinking time to do that. For the piano, I learned this from Dr. Menares, so please don't blame this on me. Before we leave, I want you to think about one word that you want the audience here today and the audience at home to be thinking about as you sit up here and you reflect on our promise to the future. So we call this a gathering of excellence because it's really important for us to always come together and focus on the things that matter. We talk a lot about, a lot of the work we do is problem solving, all the things that we hear about that we have to fix each and every day. And it's so rare that we stop and think about all the great work that's happening and to share that with you so that so that we're all in it together because we are in this together. So all of you guys have something to think about, and while they're thinking about that, I'm going to get the word from the piano, the one word from the piano, and Dr. Menares' thoughts. But to all of those who are here tonight and at home, we recognize that I started this conversation by saying one of the things I appreciate most about Dr. Menares is her need to make sure all voices are heard. So on your agendas or on your programs, there is a thought exchange. So I encourage you, when you go home tonight, or if you're so excited that you have to share information right with us right now, to click on the QR code. We want to hear your voice. It is crucial to the work that we're doing. And I know you mentioned 800 voices, but I would be willing to bet that it's a lot more than 800 voices that we heard to create this promise. And we want to continue to hear from you. So once we conclude, or if you're so excited and you so choose to click on that right away, please share your thoughts. They matter. Everything that you say matter. We read everything. We process everything, and I think our commitment to you is to read all of your thoughts and be able to share some more information. I'm going to selfishly make a shout out. If anyone's looking to work for the Worcester Public Schools, as you heard how awesome we are, please reach out. My team is outside. The HR team is outside handing things out. We have positions for you if you want to come work for us. I'm sorry, I have to always put a plug for that. Because I truly believe this is the place to be. We are the district that people are looking towards, right? So that's the first thing. For all of our educators, as you know, I do my yearly pulse check. I'm only at 630. My goal is 1,000, so if you have a moment. I was going to send out yesterday during the snow day, then I thought I really should let you rest. So if you have a moment, again, I can definitely promise you I read every single comment that you write, and we do take it seriously. So please take some time to do that. So thought exchange, really important. Come work for the Worcester Public Schools if you're out there watching us. Big plug. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, and I'm going to turn it back to my piano to give us that one word that is really resonating with you. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to my friend Melissa here because we're friends.
We are. I'm going to break the rules and say when you apply for the Worcester Public Schools, please join your union. My word is going to be togetherness.
All.
Committed.
My word would be leadership. It's all about putting yourself out there and networking with other people so you can succeed in life.
Engagement, collaboration.
Growth. Hopeful.
Transformation.
Perseverance. Innovation.
Family.
So Dr. Menares, we're going to put the spotlight back on you.
So, yes, okay, I'm on. So, been sitting here taking my notes as a diligent student, and I'm going to say that more than anything, what I'm reminded of by listening to everybody is that education is a people industry. We're all about the people, and it is the little people and it is the big people that make this the industry to be in, makes this the district to be leading, makes this the city to be living in. I heard evidence and conversation around relationships, around caring. The closing up the one word is another example. It is about making sure that people feel belong, their voices are heard, and that we keep pushing on each other because we're a people industry. And so as a people industry, it's only the people that can make sure that our children get what they deserve. And when we do that together, then that's when we rise. And only when we do that together. So all can really mean all. And so that's what I'm reminded of. That's what makes the difference. And I'll close by saying, and it is the people who are already putting the vision of a learner into practice. I heard examples of problem solving, complex conversations going on amongst the adults. And when the adults start it, the children will model it. So thank you for reminding me how important each and every one of us are to this work for our future.
So I have the privilege to say thank you so much for being here and joining our first of many Gathering of Excellence. And we're going to close it out by watching our award-winning Burnt Coat Spirit Team.
you.